Chapter 15. Julie was unconscious, the blood from the wound that Hines had made in her arm pooling around her, soaking into the hard earth. Rowena had shuffled as close as she could, doing her best to ignore the blaze of agony from her back every time she moved. She'd found the cuff the doctor had used and had applied it in an effort to stop the bleeding. It wasn't a great success. The wound was too deep. She couldn't get the cuff tight enough. She watched Julie's life seep out with a growing sense of panic. "Doctor, where are you?" Perhaps Jacob had got him. Perhaps the crazy son of a bitch would be back here in a minute. She scrambled around under the thyme tree, cursing her useless legs, searching for the gun. Then she saw the dog. It was keeping its distance, watching her from the grass outside the shadow of the tree. It was lightly built, its coat almost the same pale brown as the baked earth. "Shoo!" snapped Rowena. The dog growled. Another dog appeared by its side. Rowena felt her heart rate increase. She looked around for something to throw, but there was only the grass and earth. She scrabbled around in the crushed grass, found a plastic strap. It was attached to a bag, Julie's bag. She remembered Joe taking the organizer from it a half hour ago, a world away. She picked the bag up, shook it, heard small change rattling inside. "Coins," she thought. "I can throw them." There were 3 dogs now, and they were advancing steadily, tails wagging. But Rowena doubted they were about to become friendly. She poured out the contents of the bag. 2 quarters, a couple of dimes, some Tanzanian small change. She flung one of the quarters. It missed, but the dogs took a couple of steps back even so. Then started forward again. There were 4 of them now, no, 5, making a half circle around Rowena and Julie. A growl behind her. She turned, and 2 more dogs skittered back, snarling. Her hands shaking, she flung her remaining change after them. "The gun," she thought. "The goddamn gun, where is it?" She shifted her position, patting the grass frantically, looking for the dark shape of the weapon. The dogs were advancing now, tails down, snouts low, ominously silent. Rowena felt herself beginning to panic. She found a deodorant spray in Julie's purse, an old lipstick, a computer disk. She threw them, but the dogs only dodged the missiles. One lunged forward, bit Julie's sleeve, then danced back when Rowena struck out at it. Julie stirred, groaned, opened her eyes for a second. "It's okay," lied Rowena. She felt something pulling at her body, and with a sudden start of horror realized that one of the dogs was worrying her leg, far below the level where she had any feeling. She punched it, felt her fist connect with rough, hot fur. The dog jumped up, caught her arm in its teeth. Pain. Her arm was lifting up, with the dog still attached. Her body was tilting. She was losing her balance, and her arm hurt. It hurt. It was going to break. She was going to... And then the dog had let go, retreated, but another had taken its place at her feet, and this was going to go on until she was exhausted, and they killed her, and another one had its teeth in her leg. "Oh God, it's eating me!" And another dived for her throat. "No, get back!" Her arm connected with something solid, and the dog was a snarling heap of fur on the ground, tangled up with the 2 that had been attacking her legs, the pile of them temporarily blocking the way for the others. Rowena knew she had only a couple of seconds. And there was one thing she hadn't tried. She reached into Julie's bag, found a familiar flat plastic shape, pulled it out and pressed the button. The air filled with the warbling mechanical shriek of a rape alarm. The dogs jumped back as if they'd been hit, vanished into the grass. The pile at Rowena's feet disentangled themselves and ran. Only one remained, its teeth in Julie's arm, its ears flat against its skull. Rowena swung the hand with the alarm at it, and it too jumped back, its mouth full of cloth and flesh. Rowena saw the blood pooling around Julie, and she swallowed hard. She felt sick, but the dogs were gone. She held the rape alarm tightly, trying to remember how long the batteries lasted. It would have to be long enough for Joe or the doctor to get back. If either of them was still alive, if the dogs hadn't had them, or the lions, or the hyenas, or the astralos, or Jacob Hines. She held the alarm above her head, hoping that it might make the sound audible a little further away. Then she saw the dog. It was looking at her from the grass, its eyes full of intelligent calculation. She waved the alarm at it, but it just took a step forward. Another was emerging from the grass, moving slowly but advancing. Rowena's body began to shake. They had got used to the noise. They'd realized it wasn't going to hurt them. They saw the blood on the ground, the blood on her legs. They could smell the blood, and they were coming back. The shrieking electronic noise made Kittig pause, his hoof still raised above the doctor's head. "It'll be Rowena," gasped the doctor. "Rowena and her friend. They're in trouble. Look, please, let me up. You have my word that I—" He hesitated. "I'll let you do what you want afterwards, but we must save them. We can't let them die. They're innocent bystanders." There was a faint, unmistakably human shriek blended with the continuing noise of the electronic alarm. Pain. Terror. Kittig made his decision. He lifted the hoof that held the doctor down and lifted the alien up in his arms and onto his back. Then he started back along the riverbed at a gallop. Rowena screamed again. "Doctor!" She saw that Julie's eyes were open, her lips moving. "Dogs!" said Rowena briskly. She felt a sharp pain in her belly. A dog clinging on. She slapped it, punched it, tried to pull it away, felt the pain register as its grip on her flesh tightened. Rough fur brushed her neck, and the rotted meat smell of canine breath filled her nose and throat. She rolled over, hoping to crush the dog underneath her. Its wriggled howls slithered out. Another dog landed on her back. She heard Julie bawling for help. "I'm not going to survive this. This time it's over. I'm going to die." And Julie was screaming, and Rowena was strangling the dog on her chest, her hands on its throat. But another one had her arm, and it hurt, and its jaws were on her throat and the blood. The ground shook, and something knocked her body to one side. Colours flew overhead, scarlet and violet. The ground shook again. A dog was flying through the air, contorted, howling. The dog at her arm let go and fell back, limp. Everywhere, dogs were screaming. A wild, frightened keening, totally unlike the professional yips and growls that had accompanied the battle up till now. Rowena struggled to sit up. Couldn't. Her vision blurred for a moment, and then she was being lifted up by a knight on a huge white horse dressed in medieval finery. No. A horse on its own, with arms, like the thing in Heinz's cave. And the doctor was standing beside it, with an expression of desolation on his face. Rowena looked around, saw that one last dog was still worrying at Julie's body. The horse-like creature stood on it, and there was a loud crack of bone. "Oh God!" breathed Rowena. The words bubbled in her throat. "Is she—" But the doctor wasn't looking at Julie. He was looking at Rowena. She tried to speak again, felt hot fluid running down her throat onto her chest. She lifted her hands. They felt heavy, infinitely heavy, and they were covered in blood. The doctor was saying something, but for some reason Rowena couldn't hear it. She tried to read his lips, but she was feeling tired, so tired. And it was complicated, too complicated, and the doctor's hand reached out and touched her face. And then she heard the words, "innocent bystanders," and saw the tears in his all too human eyes. And then she died.